Pfizer announced the COVID-19 vaccine is safe for kids ages 5 to 11 and causes fewer side effects. More on the vaccine and when it will be available coming up.
Plus, a food bank in the Valley participates all month to increase the awareness of food insecurity in the Valley. Find out how you can help.
And sports betting is now up and running in Arizona. But where does the revenue go? We'll have the story a little later.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Camila Williams.
And I'm Ryan Tismaneski. Thank you for joining us.
Pfizer announced today that the COVID-19 vaccine works in children ages 5 to 11. With kids being back in school and the Delta variant going around, parents have been eager to have them vaccinated. Pfizer announced that the dose in this vaccine is much lower, with it being 1/3 of the amount what is in the shots now. The company says the kid dosage went through clinical trials and has had fewer side effects reported.
So many parents have been waiting for exactly this news, especially given what's happening now with the Delta variant. I mean, there have been nearly 500,000 new cases in children in the last 2 weeks.
Although kids are less likely to be hospitalized due to COVID-19, cases have risen due to the Delta variant. Pfizer hopes to apply to the FDA for emergency use of the vaccine by the end of the month.
Today, a mobile COVID-19 vaccination van stopped at Isaac Middle School in Phoenix. There are 2 mobile units run by Vincere Cancer Center and Premier Lab Solutions. The units are traveling all over the city of Phoenix, offering free vaccines and rapid testing for COVID-19. They hit the streets Monday through Saturday. Those that came out today were thankful for the opportunity.
I think it's definitely important because not everyone has, access to insurance all the time, and it's a free event, so it gives the community an opportunity to take advantage and have a resource that's definitely needed.
So we've already been out in the community helping with this pandemic with testing, right? And then we've been giving the vaccinations, but today we're taking it to that next level. We're going to have that mobile point of distribution.
You can find the location of mobile units or other vaccination sites near you. Go to vaccines.gov.
As venues start to open up after being shut down for a year, many venues are requiring proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. If you don't have proof of vaccination or a negative test, you will not be let in. More than a dozen independent concerts, clubs, and entertainment venues in Arizona have agreed to requiring proof of vaccination and negative results in what's best at this time. With Delta variants going around, venue owners believe that the key to staying open is taking the extra precautions to ensure everybody is being safe. The venues are still working on the verification process, but hope to have that figured out soon.
In Tucson, researchers are currently testing a COVID-19 prevention pill to determine if an antiviral medication can stop people from getting COVID. They're also testing the pill to see if it can speed up the recovery time for COVID-19 patients. Researchers are hoping that the trials are successful. The COVID viral medication will be easily accessible to all and turn the tide against the fight in COVID-19. The Biden administration has also invested $3.2 billion into the development of antiviral pills to treat COVID. There's no word yet on if or when these pills will be available to the public.
Thousands of migrants are stranded in Mexico in simple hopes of seeking political asylum in the U.S. But the Remain in Mexico policy is, according to activists, creating inhumane conditions. Cronkite News reporter Brianna Isbell spoke with the activists about the impact.
This has caused many migrants to go homeless, hungry, and hopeless. Shelters are at capacity, food is at a minimum, and hope is at an all-time low.
The U.S. is forcing very vulnerable populations to remain in some of the most dangerous regions of Mexico. These regions are controlled by cartels, by violence, kidnappings, corruption by Mexican officials, taking their money away, taking their documents away.
Ana Ortega works with Human Rights First organization specializing in refugee protection. Ortega says she has witnessed firsthand the dangerous conditions that migrants are forced to face.
I recently met a Central American lesbian asylum seeker who has been living on the street. She sells candy to come up with means to survive. And the day that I met her, she had very visible bruises on her face, on her stomach, and a broken arm. She told me that she was assaulted by a group of men who knew she was an asylum seeker. They took the candy, they took the money that she had earned, and brutally beat her.
Remain in Mexico is a policy that began during the Trump administration era, forcing migrants seeking political asylum to stay in Mexico until seen by the U.S. court system. Kenji Kazuka of Human Rights First works to preserve and promote the protection of refugees and reform U.S. asylum laws and policies.
At the moment, there are thousands of people who are trying to seek protection in the United States who are stranded along the U.S.-Mexico border.
The Biden administration's new proposal says they would require a smaller number of asylum seekers.
Ever since the Supreme Court rejected the administration's request to keep the program inactive, activists have been lobbying the Department of Homeland Security to issue a new memo to try to end the program. In the newsroom, Brianna Isbell, Cronkite News.
Foster care parents are needed now more than ever as children's shelters continue to fill up. Coming up later on Cronkite News, more on how the Department of Child Safety is trying to help.
Hunger Action Month is here, and food banks and organizations nationwide are participating to help. Stay tuned later to find out how Arizona is pitching in to help end hunger.
Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream. For the first time ever, our most popular programs have been selected just for you.
But there's so much more.
Whether you like to travel,
wow,
feast,
and calories don't count.
Look back,
that is me.
Discover.
You know the whole story.
There's something for everyone.
Let's get to it right away.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
What you get from Washington Week that you will not get anywhere else are the best and the brightest reporters from different media companies, and they're able to have a real conversation about things that are happening in Washington and around the country. But it's also a show about issues that are relevant to different communities.
How do you think that...
As the moderator, I feel this deep responsibility to bring in those other perspectives so that people understand how power and politics impact their daily lives.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Children's shelters are completely full while the number of foster parents available is decreasing, according to authorities. Cronkite News reporter Milan Andrade explains the trend in the latest foster care numbers and what this means.
As of September 2021, there are 13,813 kids currently in foster care, and on average, about 30 kids per day. Children are back to school. And according to Chris Jacober of Arizona Friends of Foster Care Foundation, this is essential to detect abuse.
The biggest group of, they're called mandated reporters. So that's people who have their eyes on children and figure out who needs help, is teachers. And kids have not been in classrooms. So teachers have not had their eyes on children for a very long time.
Children's shelters are completely full, according to the Department of Child Safety. However, this is not a result of more kids in care since schools have opened. Rather, experts explain COVID-19 has decreased the amount of foster parents, resulting in full shelters.
The licensing process, there's a lot of people in and out of your home. There's a lot of work to be done during that process, and also just the thought of bringing kids into their home that they didn't know that were potentially going to school, that could bring back germs, and going to their visits with their bio parents.
DCS is turning to new outlets to get their message out. One Facebook post a month into the school year asked foster parents to open up their homes to more kids.
And this is really unusual. The director went right to the families to say, can you take one more child?
According to the DCS Facebook post, foster homes are needed for sibling sets, teens, and boys and girls ages 2 to 17. In Phoenix, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
Food banks and organizations nationwide are participating in Hunger Action Month in September to fight food insecurity. Cronkite News reporter Molly Hudson spoke with a local food bank aiming to make an impact in Arizona.
The COVID-19 pandemic created a demand on St. Mary's Food Bank never seen before. In fact, they say 1 in 4 children in Arizona are facing food insecurity.
Hunger Action Month is 30 ways in 30 days where you can fight hunger. And we put out a calendar each year with 30 different events in it.
With events like Go Orange Day, a day where U-Haul volunteers donated food and helped pack emergency food boxes, organizations like St. Mary's help to address the 1 in 5 families in Arizona that face food insecurity.
So we're starting to see the numbers tick up. We're starting to see the lines get a little longer for food drive boxes. And as we get into the holiday season, we expect that will continue.
The number of food insecure families and children is even higher in Native American communities. Rafael Tapia, with partnership with Native Americans, says COVID just heightened the concerns.
I mean, 1 in 4 Native American citizens that live on the reservation face food insecurity. You're talking about almost double of the food insecurity among our citizens. 1 in 9 Americans face food insecurity.
Tapia's organization often connects Native American communities with local partners.
We may not have all of the food or supplies, so we serve in an intermediary role to then bring in other partners that we work with.
St. Mary's Food Bank says they distributed hundreds of pounds of food to the Navajo Nation during COVID, and they will continue this effort in the coming months. They plan to hand out more than 6,000 turkeys to the Navajo and Hopi Indian communities.
The one silver lining, perhaps, of COVID is it has allowed us to establish a relationship with the Native American tribes and the Native American communities up there. There's a great trust factor now that they have with St. Mary's Food Bank.
Hunger Action Month runs through the rest of September, and there are still ways to participate, including their turkey countdown, which just started. Check out stmarysfoodbank.org to see the calendar of events. In the Broadcast Center, Molly Hudson, Cronkite News.
SRP's largest battery storage facility in Peoria is now operational. The public utility says the facility can hold enough energy to power 5,600 residential homes at a time. The battery system is designed to recharge overnight and only release electricity during peak hours. SRP plans to use this system to cut their carbon emission by 65% and to continue increasing renewable charging capabilities at its facilities.
With fall just around the corner, we can finally expect temperatures to begin cooling down. Isabella Fredrickson in the Cronkite News Weather Center with a look at those temps.
That is right. As we enter into the fall season, we are going to begin seeing some temperature changes across the country. Up north and in the Pacific Northwest, we are already seeing some pretty cool temperatures. We're looking at 63 degrees in both Salt Lake City and over in Portland. However, the rest of the country is still looking at some warm temperatures. We're looking at high 70s up to 100 degrees down in Dallas. Moving on to our state high temperatures for tomorrow, we are seeing the same thing. We're seeing some cooler temperatures up north. Our coolest is going to be over in Flagstaff at 74 degrees. However, the rest of the south region of the state is looking pretty warm. We're looking at 102 degrees, both in Phoenix and over in Lake Havasu City and down in Yuma. Moving on to our evening planner, we are going to see some cooler temperatures this evening. Once it hits 9 p.m., we are going to be in the 80s, and we are seeing some cloud coverage the rest of the night. And finally, taking a look at our 8-day forecast, while the next 2 days are going to be sunny, starting Thursday and moving into the rest of the weekend, we are going to see that cloud coverage. The clouds are not going to go away until Monday. However, we are looking at temperatures in the 90s the rest of the week. Isabella Fredrickson in the Weather Center.
I'm Mariah Graves. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. Sports betting in Arizona has been very popular since it became legal. With the first wave of revenue coming in, we'll look at where that money is actually going.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
I was so excited when I learned that I was going to be the next moderator of Washington Week. I was incredibly lucky to be mentored by Gwen Eiffel, and what that gave to me was this confidence that I could be my full self and that I was deserving of whatever spaces I was in.
Welcome to Washington Week.
I also feel this great joy in taking the helm of Washington Week, knowing that I can mold it and make it my own, but also make sure that it is still within the legacy and the tradition that made it so great for all of these years.
Your favorite member benefit is getting better and bigger.
This is wonderful.
Over the next year, Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream.
They give us all that they've got.
From your favorite cooking and travel series.
Even the stairs are breathtaking.
To history specials and award-winning documentaries. Better and bigger.
That really is the fun part.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons, your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
Welcome back. I'm Mariah Graves with your Cronkite Sports Report. It was a wild weekend of football for some Arizona teams, with multiple games coming down to last-minute plays. The Cardinals hosted the Vikings yesterday and found themselves down 20-7 in the first half. But the Cardinals battled back, and in the end, the game came down to a last-second field goal for the Vikings. It sailed wide right to give the Cardinals the one-point win. Kyler Murray looked like an MVP candidate as he finished with 400 passing yards. The win moves the Cardinals to 2-0 for the second straight year. Under the Friday night lights, Hamilton High School had their own crazy ending, scoring 18 points in the last 65 seconds to top 7th-ranked Bishop Gorman 25-24 on national TV. The Huskies recovered 2 onside kicks, and quarterback Nico Markiel threw the final touchdown with 8 seconds left before running in the 2-point conversion for the win. Hamilton moves to the 3-0 on the second season and play Centennial Heights this Friday. Oh my gosh. And down in Tucson, a huge upset on Saturday as NAU beats University of Arizona for the first time in 89 years. The Wildcats tried to go for a late 2-point conversion, but failed, giving the Lumberjacks their first win of the season. And the first time in NAU history, the team has beaten a Pac-12 team. For head coach Chris Ball, NAU's victory serves as a confidence boost for a young team who's starting to believe they can achieve big things.
It just gives you so much confidence moving forward. You got the kids' ears now, now they're really paying attention to what you say. They know what they got to do to be successful, and you can accomplish a lot of things when you come together.
In a disappointing loss at BYU, the Sun Devils move out of the AP Top 25 for the first time this season. Arizona State was marred by turnovers and penalties in the 10-point loss. Today, head coach Herm Edwards tried to focus on the positive as his team still has a clean slate in the Pac-12.
We don't have a win or a loss in Pac-12, and the season starts this Saturday. So we're excited about our opportunity playing at home again. Hopefully we can clean up some of our miscues that we had our last outing against BYU. We had a good talk with the team. I met with the team captain, so we'll see where it goes from there.
With such a big weekend of football, also came a big weekend of betting. Sports gambling in Arizona is off to a fast start. And with revenue flooding in from gambling, the big question is, where does the money go? And how is it being used? Cronkite News reporter Ryan Blank examines the funding plan.
The era of sports gambling has begun in Arizona, with revenue starting to trickle in. All revenue from sports gambling in the Grand Canyon state will be placed in the general fund, which gives legislators flexibility on the way it is used.
We can spend it on whatever we want. So we can prioritize K-12 education. We can prioritize higher ed education, where ASU is, infrastructure, because things change and needs change.
While Arizona is using the general fund as a means to prioritize different projects, New York is taking a different route. The Empire State is using a direct funding system to allocate 1% of their gambling revenue to youth sports.
There really isn't a dedicated revenue stream at all in New York, and I'm sure most places, for youth sports funding. I know that the idea of sports betting was controversial. My proposal was, look, if we're going to do it, let's at least do something positive with that.
New York is currently the first state to dedicate funds directly to youth sports, a model that Arizona may look into down the road.
I know all the teams have some kind of a funding mechanism that goes to youth sports, but that's something we can look at. I mean, I fully believe that sports is a great thing, and it breeds lessons in life of work ethic and camaraderie and teamwork.
Our entire thought was this should be an economic boon for everybody. Since it goes to the general fund, a future legislature could determine that, hey, you know what, we ought to fund youth sports or whatever, anything, and use a portion of these proceeds to fund that.
Sports gambling is in full swing across Arizona. State legislators are betting on the money it brings in to make a difference in the state's economic future. In Phoenix, Ryan Blank, Cronkite News.
That's going to do it for this edition of Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Mariah Graves. Thanks for joining us. Back to you, Camila.
Hispanic Heritage Month is here and in full swing. Later on Cronkite News, more on how the Phoenix Children's Museum is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with their newest exhibit.
Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream. For the first time ever, our most popular programs have been selected just for you.
But there's so much more.
Whether you like to travel,
wow,
feast,
and calories don't count.
Look back,
That is me.
discover.
You know the whole story.
There's something for everyone.
Let's get to it right away.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
What you get from Washington Week that you will not get anywhere else are the best and the brightest reporters from different media companies, and they're able to have a real conversation about things that are happening in Washington and around the country. But it's also a show about issues that are relevant to different communities.
How do you think that...
As the moderator, I feel this deep responsibility to bring in those other perspectives so that people understand how power and politics impact their daily lives.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Hispanic Heritage Month started last week, and there are events all across the state for the next few weeks. Cronkite News reporter Lauren Quinlan visited the Children's Museum of Phoenix to see how it's using art to connect people to their culture.
All month, the Children's Museum of Phoenix is highlighting local artist Gerano Garcia, who was born in Sonora, Mexico. The aromas, textures, and colors from Garcia's childhood are represented throughout his work.
Everything that I do is related to Mexico. Why? Because that's who am I, and that's what I'm trying to represent. And I want my daughter to never forget her roots, where we come from.
From Frida Kahlo's self-portraits, creating your very own surrealist collage like Salvador Dali, and other activities inspired by familiar Hispanic icons, kids at the museum are getting a hands-on experience learning about Hispanic culture.
Come here and see it.
Ernesto Munoz with the museum shared that they are looking forward to showing children a special culture that is alive and well in Phoenix.
The camera.
For artist Garcia, art is more than just using different colors, shapes, and textures, but it's a way of life and a reflection of the world around him.
Everything is about creativity, and they don't teach us at school. So for me, a museum that is focused on kids, and they open their minds at that young age with everything about touching and grabbing and listening and art and painting and everything. I think that's what we're lacking in society.
The hope is that through art, kids can learn about a special culture and find a connection to it that they may not have before. In Phoenix, Lauren Quinlan, Cronkite News.
The Children's Museum of Phoenix will continue to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with art exhibits and activities until October 15th.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.